Hello everyone, this is Pal Ponder on Weather. In this update, we're going to break things down for you hour by hour and what to expect on this major winter storm that is unfolding. So let's take a look at the overall latest high resolution guidance. Starting about 3 o'clock this afternoon, you can actually see the cold air continuing to plunge in from the central US all the way down into the deep south. It's in the single digits in Oklahoma, down to the teens in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. It's in negative numbers up there in Illinois. You can follow the time on the top left-hand corner of the screen. And as these numbers continue to plunge, they are now down to 8 degrees in the nighttime hours into Dallas, 7 degrees in Indiana. So you can definitely see the coldest temperatures so far of the season in this massive Arctic outbreak, Siberian Arctic outbreak. And as some of this has been, 37-degree drop in 1 hour in Denver. So this has been some pretty serious cold unfolding across not just tonight, but going into tomorrow morning on Friday. You can see the negative numbers continue to race eastbound, and this will take you through all day on Friday into the hourly time frame, with those single digits unfolding across the deep south, across the Ohio Valley, negative temperatures. We wake up on Saturday morning in the deep freeze, well down to the south, even all the way down into Mexico, experiencing those freezing conditions as the temperatures continue to remain cold until all the way through Christmas Eve. And let me show you what it feels like out there, because it is dangerously cold, with the minus 40 and 50 below across the Central Plains. Even into Oklahoma, minus teens. This is crazy cold, guys. Getting into minus 30 into Missouri there. Those are feels like, and look at the expansion of those negative feels likes as we get into tonight time frame. As we wake up tomorrow, we're all the way down into the deep south with those negative teens and dangerously cold, negative 37 below zero up there in Indiana. So you can definitely see some serious cold with this system, and it's a prolonged cold spell for sure. It's already been cold up there in Montana and up there in the Northwest, and they're sharing the cold with the central US, and that's just heading eastbound as we get into the day on Saturday. And then let's take a look at the east. So this is the actual temperatures going back to 3 o'clock now. So we'll move the needle here, and as that cold front continues to plunge eastbound, now we'll be entering portions of Indiana by later on tonight, about 11 o'clock, heading towards Ohio into the overnight hours with those below zero. These are actual temperatures, folks, below zero, entering Pennsylvania by the time we get into your 10, 11 o'clock in the morning time frame tomorrow. You can definitely see down here to the south, single digits in Mississippi. That is some serious cold stuff on the way, especially for a good chunk of the central and eastern 2/3 of the US. And finally, the Northeast finally starts getting to those negative numbers as the temperatures continue to plunge all the way through Saturday morning. That would be your Christmas Eve, all the way into Florida, folks. We're talking 30 degrees as far south as Orlando. So this is definitely a serious cold blast on the table. And so let's take a look at the overall feels like temperatures for the east, because that's just nearly insane. Almost 40 below zero tonight in Illinois, and down to 35 below in Indiana, Ohio. All those areas are below zero feels like temperatures. Very dangerous cold. You can get frostbite in about 5 to 10 minutes in this type of cold weather, folks. So take this seriously, as this is going to be expanding all the way up into the Northeast, through New England, and all the way on into the East Coast, with those negative numbers continuing all the way through tomorrow afternoon. And so the winds are going to be high impact as well. I mean, you're already seeing them, hearing them screaming outside if you live in the central US, but they're coming your way through the Ohio Valley. 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gust, easily not out of the question. 60 mile per hour wind gust. Once you get up here into the Northeast, we're talking 60, 70, some of these could be 80 miles an hour. You can't even roll out some 90 mile per hour wind gusts, especially as this low pressure really starts to deepen into the afternoon, into the overnight tonight up here into the northern Great Lakes. So wind gusts are going to be a huge concern with power outages So let's take a look at the overall setup. We did have some little bit of snow in Oklahoma. It was snow flurries in Wichita Falls. There was actually even snow flurries in the Dallas-Worth area earlier. Now that snow has moved on. So again, this is about 3 o'clock this afternoon. This is when we're starting this update. And you can see the transition. I put the high resolution guidance on there because this is the flash freeze we've been talking about through the sleet and the freezing rain on the initial setup with a good 20, 30, if not 40-degree drop on the backside. Changes over to all snow as we get into your 6 o'clock time frame this afternoon. And then there's 8 o'clock. And as we move the clock into the evening time frame, into the overnight, you can see a transition to all snow into Indiana and Ohio. This low rapidly starts to deepen. We got all rain ahead of it, so you're going to have a rain swath with the wind, with the freezing rain, with the sleet, and the snow on top of it. You get all facets up there into the Northeast. It's just going to be downright nasty up there with even flood watches in place. And so if we continue to move through the night, you can actually see these ribs on the high resolution radar. That's depicted in those very high winds screaming across with the flash freeze here through West Virginia, and then transferring all to snow back on the backside through Kentucky as we get into the overnight time frame. There's Ohio dumping some heavier snows into Ohio as you wake up tomorrow morning on your Friday, and that transfers to all snow into Pennsylvania. This low continues to bomb out, what they call bombogenesis, as it rapidly deepens now to a 971 millibar low pressure, dumping heavy snow in Wisconsin out of there, going through Michigan, the upper Great Lakes, especially around the lakes there. Could get that lake advanced snow. 2 to 3 feet is definitely not out of the question as we continue to move the needle through Friday afternoon. That low continues to race northbound, but slowing down with this low now down in the 960 range. This really starts to bottom out and really dump the heavier snows into the northern Great Lakes there. With some of those 2 feet amounts are not out of the question from this particular system. And then we go through your Saturday morning on Christmas Eve. That's what it would look like by the time you wake up on Saturday morning, and going through the afternoon time frame. So let's take a look at the overall NAM on the expansion model, because this actually goes out another 48 hours or so, because this covers up to 4 days worth. So as we move through, you got that swath coming through. There's also going to be another system out into the northwest. So as this one moves through the central and eastern 2/3, we also have to be concerned about another icy type setup up here into the Pacific Northwest. As we wake up tomorrow, roads are going to be treacherous travel up there near Seattle in the Pacific Northwest with heavier snows in the Intermountain regions. So we're going to be watching that activity as this continues to dump over the upper peninsula of the upper Great Lakes. And that will continue through the day on Saturday as this storm winds down. And so as we take you through your Christmas, this storm will continue to wind down as you wake up on Christmas morning. A lot of you guys up here will wake up with a white Christmas with the snow on the ground, as these both systems will start to wind down. We still have a little clipper system that will come through, say, the day or two after Christmas, because you're still in that cross-polar flow type setup. But we are concerned about that flash freeze as it comes across. So it's going to lay down a blanket of freezing rain as it comes across the Tennessee Valley, through the Appalachians, through the Mid-Atlantic, and up here into New England, and compounding with all those heavier winds. And then the ice up there in the Pacific Northwest is going to be treacherous travel, especially into tomorrow morning. So be on high alert of those icy roadways. And that's also going to lay down a blanket of sleet as well. So that's where the flash freeze is so dangerous, as this rapidly changing temperatures are going to plunge in a big way. And we've seen it with those 20, 30, 40-degree drops in just a short amount of time frame. Denver went from 42 yesterday to 24 to below zero last night. That is a serious drop in one day. So that gives you the idea of the potential of this front. And here's the overall NAM, what this looks like as far as snowfall totals over the next 4 days. And I think this has a pretty good grasp. This is only picking up on what's going to snow between now, currently, and through the next 84 hours. So I know it's already snowed a lot here, but this is additional snowfall through Kentucky, portions of Tennessee. It does reach as far south as Arkansas, maybe a dust unit or two into Mississippi and Alabama and to Georgia here, but heavier amounts into Kentucky, through Illinois here, as well as Indiana and Ohio, and through northern portions of Pennsylvania and northern portions of New England. But where it really intensifies and gets heavy is into portions of Wisconsin, especially into Michigan, and especially along the Great Lakes, and of course right into Toronto up here into Canada, where they could be picking up some serious totals. Over 2 feet of snow is definitely out of the question as this system continues to bottom out. And then we'll have our northwest snows as well, mainly in the Intermountain West. But then the icy setup will set up across the coastal regions up there near Seattle. So I appreciate you guys watching. I hope this helped kind of fine tune this storm on an hour by hour basis. So catch me the next update where I protect you before and after the storm.